So I want to start telling the story by really telling a bit of a story about me. While y'all might know me as Cass, my commentator and YouTube persona that I've had for 5, 6, 7 years now, or Tyler Drake, the character I portray on UKW. My real name's Michael, and I was born in a small community in Alabama known as Lake Martin. Growing up, me and my dad were massive wrestling fans and went to many different wrestling events throughout my childhood. And so I can really say that that began my love for what I do today and became really my inspiration behind loving the wrestling product, loving the book. While I find myself watching less and less of the current product, I still find myself going back to it from time to time. While I love a lot more of the creating aspect than the actual viewing aspect nowadays. I do still find myself time to time going back and watching the product. Um, Growing up, me and life wasn't always easy for me, to be truthful. To kind of peel back the curtain and just give a realistic output on my life. Both of my parents had major health issues while I was growing up, and that mixing with really not understanding myself as a person and a back and forth school experience. I'm not gonna sit down and say it was bad. Or I wouldn't even say I was really bullied. I played football. Was a Had friends. I never like went through all those experiences, but it that's why I kind of turned the term back and forth school experience. And around my eighth grade year, it was when things got really bad. I had moved to live with my mom. I had decided that I didn't know anybody anyway at this new school, so I would just do online school, and that's when it really sunk in and really was a bad experience for me. I was really around nobody all day. I just really sat in my room, and just really just thought a lot, and it was just a it had me really contemplating some negative things. So around this time is I knew I needed to change, and I knew I needed to do what was best for me despite how some of my family would take it. So I decided to move back with my dad, and it it really started a chain reaction of some really positive things in my life. um First off, I met to this day my closest friends ever, and the best friends a sad, depressed, lonely kid could have ever asked for. Valente and Dakota, I know I say this all the time, but if y'all only knew how much y'all have really helped me over the years, y'all don't even understand. I can't even put into words how much everything y'all have done for me really matters. And really, after I met them and started, after I met them, things really started looking up for me mentally as well. Um, I still struggled my ninth and 10th grade year, um, educationally, because as a depressed middle schooler, I had really just not cared about what I was learning about, and also the moving back and forth with schools didn't help either. So my ninth and 10th grade years were still pretty bad, and it really overall set up something I'm gonna tell later. But speaking about Valente and Dakota, and actually, I'm gonna take a second to rewind. I know I just mentioned Valente and Dakota, but despite this, I'm gonna mention a couple of other people. Around the same time we met Valente and Dakota, we also met Josh. And while Josh has kind of taken a step back out of the wrestling sphere, I really don't even think he's really much of a wrestling fan anymore. Is such a vital piece to this story because he has he's so vital in the UKW sphere. He's the current international champion, but the character is the current international champion. But it's more than that. That character is a big part of the Tyler Drake, the Gabriel Cole, the Black Iron story, as well as that character just means a lot to me because it signalizes all the things that the four of us have been through, and another person I'm gonna get to here in a minute. But um, and even I know we went through ups and downs, and I know a lot of people here in the community is gonna know who he is, and I kind of would feel bad not to mention him, despite all the ups and downs we've been through, and kind of the split we've decided to make, and it's healthier for both parties. And this is the first time I'm really speaking of it on a public platform. But Shane was also somebody I met around that time, and we have had our ups and downs, like I said, but he's also a vital part of the UKW story. Who knows where UKW would be if it wasn't for Shane Roach's world title reign leading into Pinnacle 1? Like, all of that are major story elements, and I would like to say, I would like to think that his time with UKW on the booking committee, his time sitting in chats while I was working on graphics and booking and all this stuff has kind of elevated the PWE product. And I would like to think that now that he's making good quality content, I think it's made the community overall better. And that's something I'm happy for. And I just think seeing where the five of us, and I'll also include somebody y'all don't know, and that being Taylor. Taylor, once again, he's like Josh, had taken a step back from the community, but has actually expressed to me some interest on being his character being reintroduced. And I'm not going to mention the name of his character because we might end up doing some stuff later with it. But thinking of how far we've came, 6 kids in a PlayStation party, all of us having our own struggles mentally, all of us being severely depressed and finding ways to overcome it. And that's something I'm really happy about looking back now, all these years later. But I'll get back on track with the story. But after I met all these guys, things really started looking up for me. Like I said, I struggled my ninth and 10th grade year educationally, but around 11th grade year, which is said to be your hardest, it actually 11th and 12th grade year were probably my easiest years of schooling ever because I had friends in school. I had made friends in school because I had gained the confidence from that my friends outside of school had given me. And speaking about all those guys, with us hanging out in the PlayStation parties back in the day, um, during those days we would PlayStation used to have this thing. I think they still do have it actually, where you could stream from your PlayStation, and we used to just do that for 2K17, and we would put all our calls into a universe mode, and that's really what started the UKW idea. And we needed a name for the brand, and I am a massive fan of the original Matt Dickey games and even the current Wrestling Empire games. But if y'all remember the original Wrestling Revolution game, it had a brand that's no longer on the Wrestling Empire one, but it had a brand called United Kingdom Wrestling. And as me being a massive fan of the Matt Dickey games, and also around the same time, NXT UK was released, and I was a massive fan of that as well. And I loved the idea of a UK based product, so the name UKW is just something that stuck with me. And I'm glad that that was something I kept with because I think it sends homage to a guy that I think has done a lot for the wrestling community in Matt Dickey. When WWE was putting out some pretty crappy games, Matt Dickey was putting out some for what he does, and he has made a lot of wrestling fans happy over the years with the games he's produced, as well as I think it shows a lot of respect to a wrestling scene I think sometimes is a bit underlooked in the UK wrestling scene. So over a bra, I'm gonna go ahead and try to wrap this up. I didn't want this to be too long. So fast forwarding 8 years, 8 years later, me and Valente and Dakota have been friends pretty much the whole time. Josh We had some falling outs years ago, but all that's cleared up now. We're as thick as thieves, as they would say. But all the three of us. Taylor comes around from he's starting to, like I said, integrate himself back in, and I really am happy to have Taylor around again. And I want to make this clear right now to everybody involved. I have never once wished any ill will towards Shane. All the disagreements we had stems from a lot of stuff back in the day that we just, in reality, can't seem to get past. And that's just the reality of the situation. The reality of the situation is there are a lot of stuff that still are scars that are still deep, that were fueled by a situation taken way over the line. And I just think it was better for everybody involved. I think he's in a better situation now that he's out of UKW, and I think we're in a better situation now that he's doing his own thing. And I think the community overall is better because now we have another company producing really good quality content, and that's overall, like I said, that's good for everybody involved. So, like I said, 7 years, 8 years into a friendship with some of the greatest people I've ever met in my life. 7 year engagement that, despite how it ended, I'm happy for every moment I spent with the person I was with. And now I sit here, 23 years old. I'll be 24 this October. Going into my senior year at Auburn, studying history education, something I've had a passion about, just like pro wrestling. The content we make, I'm really happy with. I'm really happy with where it's going. I've spent so long to try to get content right, and I feel like I'm starting to finally get there. And the work I'm doing at Auburn and the work I'm doing on YouTube has just made me feel nothing more than blessed. I want to take the moment to thank everybody who has ever took a second out of their day to watch a video from UKW, a video from any form of media I've ever released. I want to send, if you have enjoyed any content I've ever worked on, I want to say thank you. So, if you guys enjoyed this story, hit the like button, subscribe, but above all else, I hope y'all guys are having a wonderful day. We'll see y'all tomorrow for UKW Renegade. Bye, guys.